Hey, let's talk relationships. And the reason why I want to talk relationships is, many of you know that I am moving into work with women's wellness and how to identify and release trauma, as well as energy healing work, right? And one of the things that I constantly reflect on is I know that I'm specializing in working with women, and for what? For what is for the eventual goal for that woman to have a healthy relationship with herself and then be able to go out and seek and prosper in healthy relationships with other people. And then I start thinking about men. And I know, I'm a woman, I'm in women's groups. We have a lot of talk going on about how to improve ourselves and everything like that. And I can't help but wonder if men are doing the same thing. I'm not a man, I'm not in the men's groups. But I do keep wondering, are they going through this as well? But the topic tonight is actually for both men and women. So I want all of you to tune in to this conversation. And specifically about relationships, what I want to provide to you is a tool that can help you to have a healthier relationship with yourself and a healthier relationship with other people. There are many tools now. Don't get me wrong. There are so many tools that can be used with relationships. If there are psychologists or therapists here watching the video, there's a lot of different tools. But this tool in particular has had sometimes a taboo feeling around it, right? Because it's been ridiculed in times past. But that tool is truly understanding, assessing, analyzing, evaluating your childhood. Okay. Now, the reason I say it's taboo is because think about it. Like the movies that we used to watch, it was always such a funny subject. Like you go to the shrink, and the first thing the shrink wants to do is say, "Tell me about how you grew up. Tell me about your childhood." And so it began to be this taboo subject, or it began to be like this joke. Like, that's such a farce. That's such a lie that my childhood has anything to do with it. It has everything to do with who you are now and how your life is unfolding. And why does it have everything to do with it? Because whether or not you have chosen to properly assess, analyze, evaluate your environment and your childhood and the things that you went through. And whether or not you are continuously running the subconscious trauma and subconscious heartbreak and or belief systems, whether you're running them still on a subconscious level or whether you've decided to consciously observe and evaluate them so that they can become positive things for you as you go through your life. Okay? So, and again, I bring this up because of course, the dog wants to get her squeaky toy right now when I do a video. Every time I'm on the phone or do a video, she wants to do a squeaky toy. But I bring it up because, also, we know we're on social media. We see a lot of arguments between men and women. We see a lot of time spent on looking at other people that you don't know and trying to judge what's right and what's wrong. And if we could spend that time actually looking at ourselves first and figuring out how to have a healthier relationship with ourselves, then we can have healthier relationships with other people, okay? And that can ripple out. So, it's just, again, all these arguments about what's right and what's wrong. And what I'm encouraging is that by properly assessing and analyzing and evaluating your childhood, you can take away the time spent on what was right and what was wrong, and then you can make a conscious decision of what is useful for you, what is not useful for you, what have been some patterns that you have adopted, and then what patterns do you want to establish moving forward, right? So that's a lot of where this is coming from as well. So what I want to do is give you some examples of when you're assessing your childhood, and you can see if you're operating on a subconscious level, what it's doing to you in your relationships. Let me clarify for a quick second. When I say relationships, I mean relationships at work, I mean the types of career that you're choosing or the type of work that you're going to put out into the world. I mean romantic relationships with a significant other, whether or not you want to get married. I mean relationships with your children. How do you want to raise your children? How do you want to relate to them? And what legacy you're going to leave in the world, meaning the relationship you have with the rest of the world. So this is not just only in a romantic sense. This is all of life. And with the proper understanding of what you went through and then taking it from the subconscious to the conscious, you can then make a decision about how you want to show up in all these kinds of relationships. You can make a decision on what your standards are. And then you can more easily look at someone else that you're going to get in relationship with. And you're able to see whether or not they did that work. And if you want to even deal with that, depending upon what level you're at. Now, notice I didn't say if you are better than the other person, or if what you've gone through is better, or your new analysis is more good than somebody else. It's simply taking a look and saying, this is what I've analyzed and evaluated, and this is the decision of who I want to be. So example number 1, if you had a childhood environment or situation that at some point or another was about struggle versus power, and if it remains in your subconscious, then you end up playing out those same situations in your adult life. So here's an example. If you had, and it's just a common example, do not sit here and take me to court about why did I choose to say man versus woman. But if there was an example about with your mom always putting up with stuff, right? Whether or not she was the only adult in the home, or if there was the other adult, the dad there, and he was in and out, he was cheating, he was doing whatever. But if you grew up as a man or woman, if you grew up and you always saw your mom struggle, almost kill herself to take care of everybody else and never herself. And on top of that, she took care of it, she got it done, she achieved her goals and more. If you saw that struggle versus power dynamic, then if you're only subconsciously running that program, then what's going to happen, let's just say you're a man, you're going to eventually expect in a relationship that your woman does the same thing. Subconsciously, you're going to expect it. You're going to expect that it doesn't matter if she's worked all week, if she's done this, she's done that. Subconsciously, well, I know a woman should be able to do everything and more. Right? And then you're going to want her to struggle and almost kill herself to take care of everyone else but herself. Example number 2. If you had a narrative or a situation or an environment in which healthy communication was not encouraged, okay, there was a lack of healthy communication, that no one taught you how to properly express your feelings and to get some feedback on those feelings, to be held accountable for the things that you share, both in body language, in action, and in words. If that was your environment growing up, where maybe, let's say everybody yelled all the time, everyone just yelled and then it was over, right? Or someone, in your home did the silent treatment. You had a parent or an auntie or whoever you grew up with, when they got mad, they just stopped talking to everybody for 2 and 3 weeks. That's an example that where you have learned a lack of communication. And because you still made it to the next day and to the next month and to the next year, and then you made it to be an adult, if you've never had to work on that, then what happens? You get into relationships, career, with your children, with your significant other, where then you do not understand how the lack of communication from the subconscious level is going to harm and torture the other person. Third example, if you grew up in a lack environment, never enough time, both parents are working all the time, or you have one parent in the home, he or she is working all the time. There's a lack of money, a lack of financial resources. There's just a lack of even just positive beliefs. if you are working on a subconscious level and it's just running automatically, then as you get older, that plays out in holding on to everything. Getting somewhere and saying, I just want to be safe. I want to be in a limited situation, and I just want to be safe because subconsciously I really don't have a belief that I can have everything I want. For women especially, this sometimes plays out if you have grown up where you've seen women fighting over men, or you've seen your mother deal with a lack of love. And so as you become an adult, then you end up holding on to a relationship because you think, I'm probably not going to get any better. I'm probably not, I better hold on to this one despite all of the problems because I probably won't get any better. That lack mentality shows up in your non-pursuit of something better in a relationship, or something better in a career, or something better in what it is that you want to create for the world. So hopefully you are able to see those three examples, and there's many more. I mean, if you grew up in an environment of violence, if you grew up in an environment of alcoholism, again, the point is not for me to judge today. Oh, if you had this, it was right. If you had this, it was wrong. That's not the point. The point is, if you can take yourself through that process, even take away the right versus wrong. That's so much time spent. Take that away and simply say to yourself, well, in this environment, these were the good things. This is where I can see I formed those patterns. These were the things I want to get rid of. These are the things that have no use, and I can identify a limiting belief, This is where I've identified, my heart was broken. My dad was never there and he broke my heart. This is where I can identify I went through some trauma, where women, we store a lot of our trauma in our wombs. So the point is to do this, to be able to take what you've been through that might be a subconscious trauma or a heartbreak or a limiting belief, bring it to the conscious, and where you can take the information, the activities, the experiences, and say, this is what I want to keep, and this is what's not doing me any good. So this is, when people talk about, oh, I've done my work, you got to do your work. And sometimes people are like, what are you talking about? This is what they're talking about. This is one example of work that you can do on yourself in order to live a healthier lifestyle, healthy in the mind, healthy in the spirit, healthy in the body. Okay. And then the last point that I wanted to make is that because once you make this transformation, and you can then say, all right, I understand, what I went through, and I've decided what I want to keep and what I want to throw away. Instead of letting it subconsciously run my life and ruin relationships in all manners, then I can decide who I am. I can decide how I want to show up. So this week in particular, there's a quote going around from Michelle Obama, right? And she says that she realized that when she met Barack, he was showing up as a fully formed person. So this is what I'm talking about, is that this can get you to the point of showing up not as perfect, because if we had a perfect person, then it wouldn't really be that fun. But you're showing up as a whole person that there's this much stuff that's like really great about me, and then there may be things that I'm still working on or that I'm at least aware of. And when the things come up, maybe this new relationship points out something new that I wasn't aware of. When this new thing comes up, because I'm already in practice, I've already taken myself through this exercise, then even when something new shows up, I'm aware of how to handle it for myself. And I'm not going to torture you and project onto you and to expect you to do it for me. I can do it for myself. This leads us to, if you've heard these terms, a person that is self-realized. You are then on your journey to self-realization, realizing who the hell you are, and even the parts that are not all the way quite right, but you know how to handle them for yourself. You are on the path then to self-actualization. You're on the path to having a self-vision, a vision for your life. And you're definitely on the path to self-love. And that's really what it's all about. As we have more people that are showing up to their lives whole, that are showing up to their lives not drowned in the right and the wrong and being lost in this was so bad, but now we can fully assess what we went through, take the good and leave the rest, right? Then as we have more people that are in this state of self-love, self-actualization, and self-realization, healthy relationship with self, then I think we're going to see more and more relationships, romantic, career, children, family, friends, with the world being healthier as well. All right, leave me some comments. If you had an aha moment, did something click for you? Do you have an example of where maybe you are the one who hadn't done the work and you could see how things crumbled? Maybe there's an example of you were the one that had done the work, but perhaps you ignored the red flags of someone who hasn't taken themselves through this process. Now, I don't want to get into bashing or name calling, but I'm just saying from this video and from these topics, let me know what you think and how it might have been helpful in you analyzing your own life. All right. You can find me online at freedomkeywellness.com. I am the women's wellness and energy healing practitioner, Nani Walker. And as always, live well.